Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Juniper or Juniper Berry, and today I want to walk you through the process of creating a zine using very limited supplies. I'm going to talk about what a zine is and how to make one. Today's zine is called Things That I Love, and as it says in the title, I'll be talking about some little things that I love and that bring me joy. Before I get into the nitty-gritty of what a zine is and how to make one, I want to talk you through the kind of supplies that I have today that I'll be using in this particular zine. It's just an A4 piece of paper, so it's quite a small one, but I think that's a lot less daunting as someone who makes zines quite often but hasn't in a while. So to begin, I'm just going through the kinds of supplies and things that I have available to me already. So that includes like these bone folders, I think they're called, lino prints that I've made in the past, little trinkets that I will use to make texture prints, which I will explain how to do this later on. I have these little letterpress stamps that my mum got me very nicely. I kind of didn't think through the order of this video, so I'm just starting off with an A4 plain printer piece of paper, and I'm going to show you how to fold up a basic zine, which is like the most common go-to way to make a zine. But yeah, this is why zines are such a staple in my art making practice. They're so easy and accessible that it's become a go-to for me to make them whenever I want to create something but I'm not sure what. A zine is the perfect way to go because you don't need fancy supplies. You can just use anything you have available to you. I mean, you don't even need these bone folder sticks. You can just use a ruler or your hands even. For me, the folding of the zine, oh my god, how many times am I gonna say zine in this video? The folding process is quite relaxing, and I don't focus too much on getting it to be super precise and neat. I just find it actually has kind of a charm to it when it's not neat. Of course, everyone has their own preferences when it comes to that kind of thing. But yeah, in my opinion, the messier the better, and you'll see from my hands over the course of this video that I do make quite a mess when I'm making them. It actually been so long since I made one that I kind of forgot what I was doing when I was folding this, but I got there eventually. Hopefully you can see from the video what I'm doing. It's very, very basic, like origami skills, essentially. Yeah, just refold any edges back and forth that you need to get it to lay flat. This bit is entirely up to you. You don't have to do this, but I like to glue down the like folded out bits, flaps, I guess, with a glue stick, just to make it more like a book. So now we've finished folding up the zine, I'm going to talk about what a zine actually is. I'm going to take a bit from the essay I wrote in my uni module. So, what is a zine? A zine is a DIY, self-published and non-commercial magazine with little to no rules on the kind of content or layout. It's anti-capitalist and community-focused, as well as being cheap and easy to make. A key aspect of the zine is its ability to be reproduced in large quantities, often printed in black and white for this reason, with some printed onto coloured paper. Theoretically, a zine has 5 main principles, which are autonomy and anti-commercialism, democratic voice, community, imperfection, and no rules. But what does this mean exactly? Well, firstly, autonomy refers to the creative freedom and prioritizing of self-expression over profit motives, which a typical glossy magazine might have. Democratic voice refers to the people behind the zine who operate from often marginalized communities, since zines are typically a form of resistance to mainstream media. Along with this, community is a core strength of zines, since they connect creators and readers who share the same niche interests, values, or experiences. Imperfection is also a key aspect of zines. The handmade and often imperfect aesthetic is a direct rejection of the typical polished and high production magazines we see on the shelves. Lastly, the only spoken rule of creating a zine is that there are no rules. With all that being said, to put it simply, a zine is a self-published booklet for personal expression rather than profit. Which brings me back to this video, a zine about things that I love, because why the heck not? Anyways, I hope I didn't bore you too much with that, and I'll continue on with the process of making today's zine. Basically, for most of my prints today, I'm using these 2 ink pads that I got. You should be able to get them anywhere that sells stationery or craft supplies. I have them in red and in black. And as you can see, I'm making a repeating pattern of these stamps that I made from erasers. Using lino carving tools, I carved out this sword pattern or design onto an eraser, which was actually really fun to do because the eraser is so soft that the lino tools just glide perfectly and it doesn't hurt at all, like my wrists, to carve many of these. Okay, now I'm using like actual lino cut prints. This is an old one that I made years ago that I found at the bottom of my drawer and just thought I'd give it a go. Because of the texture and the size of this, I really struggled to get the red ink to stick to it properly, and the print didn't come out as clean as I'd hoped, but I think it still looks okay. This is me attempting to clean my hands, I guess. It didn't really work, and I do get a lot of ink stains all over this zine, but I kind of like it. It gives it some sort of charm. This is something I've seen other people do and I would recommend, although I didn't do it this time around, is using a clean ink roller to roll your lino print and get an even amount of pressure to like press the ink into the page. I think it works quite well at getting a solid print. But yeah, do as I say, not as I do. So now I'm using one of my little A5 lino prints of 2 fish that I made for an art market one time. This was also very difficult to get the ink onto because it's not made for such a small ink pad, ideally, but I'm working with what I've got at the moment and I couldn't be bothered to set up an ink rolling station. Yeah, this is a pretty good example of why rolling a clean ink roller would be a good idea, because as you can see when I lift this up, it didn't print so great. But we move, and I prefer to work with the mistakes rather than against them. Now I'm moving on to creating the front cover of this zine. I actually hadn't decided what I wanted this zine to be about until I made this cover. I'm using my handy Ohuhu acrylic markers for this, just using a red to cover up the front page. And then I let that dry. So now I'm using the letterpress stamps that I showed you guys earlier. They were a lot of fun to work with, although very tedious. I actually ended up misspelling that as the, but I corrected my mistake with some red marker and then stamping back over the top of it. And now onto my favorite part. I am getting out little trinkets and found objects that I have lying around, including buttons and these little carabiner-esque keychain charm things. I'm using a kneaded eraser, but you can use like Play-Doh, I guess, or like some sort of putty to make these texture prints. You basically make an impression of the object you want to print, peel it out, and then stamp it in some ink. In this case, I really like the red and black combination. I think the red really stands out. Honestly, I'm not sure how much longer I can speak about this process, so I'm just gonna leave you to watch it. Hello, it's me again. If you made it this far, then honestly you deserve a medal. I hope you enjoyed watching. I had a lot of fun making this, and I'd love to do it again in the future, maybe a bigger one, something more planned out than this time around. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hopefully will see you in my next video. Bye bye.